Fucking with Trey.
Get that paper, told that Glock, that's how we live. Yeah, my life's a game, I pray I don't get killed. They can't believe I got to go out this shit for real. Can't accept the fact my brother gone, I wanna kill. Yeah, I can't go for that shit don't sit right. Instead of capping to the old nigga, I know what you live like. Ain't worried about all, just fuck these hoes and live life. I go on the drill, I'm smart enough, you gotta know how to kill.
This goal was a declaration of war to everyone on the field, to let them know that he wasn't playing any games at all. Isagi was actually very serious here. With all eyes on him, he decided to play it off cool, knowing that the next goal may be harder than the last. His opponents would try to use teamwork to get around him, but he relies on the defense of Tokimitsu to get a stop. Kira couldn't see him coming, especially with his crazy strength, but Isagi had predicted all of this in a matter of seconds. As Tokimitsu actually passed it towards Ren, since he was the most open, but he didn't play defense. And Isagi appeared in his blind spot, stealing that pass. The only one close enough to chase after him was Nagi himself, but he was just a step behind Isagi. And due to our MC's acceleration, he's left in the dust. That's some speed. Isagi then scores his second goal, starting to heat up just a little bit. He cracks his neck while telling everyone that he's warmed up and they can play a little more serious. Isagi's visual prowess is shown, as well as his desire to win. Ren walks over to him, saying that they'll clash here and he'll crush him. But he also says he'll destroy Isagi if he tries something like that again, making Isagi laugh as he tells him to bring it on. In fact, he wants to see how far he's gotten in his training as he tells everyone to go against him here and now. He holds out his hands and begins laughing while saying he'll take care of them all in this match. Within this 3-on-3 match, where it begins to become clear that the level of Isagi was just in a different tier. He couldn't be touched at all. Even someone like Ren couldn't keep up with the gap in their strength. And if he can't keep up, neither can their opponents, as Isagi scores 4 goals and Ren only scores 1. When deciding who would be the best one to take as their 4th teammate, Isagi calls Nagi useless, and he tells Bachira to improve even more. But he wants to see how far the greed of Kira will go in this selection. Making it to the 4v4 stage, they'd have to wait. So while they do so, Isagi begins to train intensely to maximize his output on the field, mastering his visual ability, which I think it's time to give it a name. And since it relies on a person's personality, body capabilities, mental tendencies, let's call this persona vision. Isagi sits down after a long day of training and looks at the screen in front of him, reviewing his last match and what he could have done better. What's pretty crazy is that while they wait on their next challenge, Isagi and Ren continue to go head to head. These two would always battle it out on a practice field, sharpening their abilities. However, Isagi held back in order to make it more interesting. Ren, of course, wouldn't know this, believing himself to have gotten so much better in a short amount of time. Then, he started to gain the edge on Isagi, but by this time, Nagi and Bachira returned, now having Baru and Chigiri on their side, challenging their friend once again, where he would accept. Even when thinking about it, he had gained the edge. Isagi started with the ball on his feet, making Ren aggravated to some point, but not heavily. The king taunts him, causing Isagi to rush in right towards him. Baru smiles, and the other 3 surround him in a diamond formation, saying there was no way out at all. Isagi turns his head, looking for an opening as he found it. There it is. He bursted right by Nagi, who wasn't ready at all. Now he was wide open for a shot, although Ren was there to try and steal it. This ends now. Ren believes that this is where he'll defeat Isagi, with the balls flicked over his head and then volleyed into the net. You all are starting to get amusing, although it'll be short-lived. This team that Isagi now faces wasn't backing down though. In this match, they show that they've went over trials time and time again to get where they needed to be, as the game would end up a score of 4-4, as Isagi now sat with the ball at the half-field mark, looking up, seeing the camera. I hope you're watching, father. Kira, who was ready to receive the ball, asked what he was thinking, as did Nagi. But Isagi claimed he won't hold back during this play, as we get to see a look into Isagi's flow state that began leaking from his body slowly. The thing about it is that his flow state itself represented an intense aura. This was due to Isagi's adaptability in changing how he played in every match. His eyes widen, with his persona vision being shown off as well. Isagi then takes a step ahead, causing everyone to sprint right at him. Seeing Rin, he makes slight eye contact with them and then just shoots it from the half-field mark, curving it into the net. And with everyone pressing up here, there was no one in the back to block the shot for the keeper, as the final goal is scored by Isagi, completing his hat trick, as Rin also had a single goal alongside Kira. And with their defeat happening so suddenly, Isagi begins walking away. I don't really care who to choose, so you all can pick. Just make sure you stay out of my way. Rin follows close behind him, actually realizing that Isagi was on a different level, maybe the same as his brother. It irritated him, so he asked about it. Just how long have you been holding back, and by how much? Isagi was laying up against the wall while they waited on the rest of their teammates, looking at him, asking him to just take a guess. He would smile, turning his head, looking back behind Rin to see Kira, Tokimitsu, and then Nagi walking towards them. Not a bad choice at all, but he's still useless without someone to pass to him. Moving on to a new room, Ego appears on the screen, congratulating them on being the first group to make it here. But since their skills have grown so much to outclass the other unpolished gems, why not seek a new challenge? The screen lights up with the world-class players on the screen from different countries. This makes Isagi smile and get excited for his next challenge, as well as funny to him as he sees a familiar face, but we'll get that interaction later. 2 days of preparation go by before the World 5 match would begin, as they enter the stage to face this team. Stepping on the field, Isagi walks right by the other players and begins speaking French while talking to Julie and Loki. The two catch up in this short amount of time, with Loki surprised that he was here in this facility. Rin and the others find this weird, but Loki states that he looks just like his father. Kira, hearing this, asks who that person was, as Loki had stated this in Japanese so they could understand it. He then turns to Isagi, asking that they didn't know. Isagi would shrug his shoulders while smiling, calling him mysterious as usual, but he plans to have a great match against his former teammate. The match would start, and Isagi has the ball, going right for Loki, ignoring the others. Oh, so it's like that. We'll bring it, Isagi. The two clash over and over, with Isagi keeping the ball. Loki notes his dribbling and his overall control with the ball has improved greatly. Isagi grins as he's just now bursting right by Loki. I should have known not to show you that move at all. But what could I expect from someone like you? This causes Loki to smile, but he states that he knows not to make this a battle of speed as he dashes forward, running past Isagi and getting in front of him once again. This is where the boy stops, catching Loki off guard. It's now or never, and he shoots with his left foot, only to fake it, to now get even more open to score with his right foot. Loki would tell the others not to worry about this, but he commends Isagi for his level and skill, as it seems he's now entered the level of genius, referring to the new Gen 11 players. Still, the World 5 find him impressive enough to show off a little more of their skills within this match, as Isagi begins to understand the difference between himself and the world-class abilities. Loki believes this to be fun, toying with everyone, and every time he gets a chance, he battles Loki with his speed. This was until Isagi began predicting Loki's movements, slowly adapting to him to the point where he's able to get a steal on Loki, entering the flow state like no other. Well, that's shocking. Loki turns his head, seeing the sadistic smile of his old friend. That creepy look of yours. It never gets old, but I never imagined it'd be used against me. Isagi and his team is able to counter in this moment, but I think due to the World 5 trying harder, Rin would be the one to score the second goal that they would get. But after this is where it basically ends, as Isagi has to live with a painful defeat. Loki would walk over, asking if this is what he wanted, with Isagi raising his head, no longer in the flow state, but with his persona vision active. In his mind, he replays all of their movements, thoughts, tendencies, running patterns, passing lanes, shooting techniques, and special abilities. Yeah, I'm satisfied, because the next time you face me, I'll destroy you. Loki likes the sound of that, but tells Isagi to be mindful, as they did find one final prodigy, and he remains by the side of Loki. Isagi waves this off, and the 5 of them would leave, with each one of them taking away something different from this match. Rin was aggravated the most. However, Ego explained to them that this wasn't a bad showing at all. Now, they waited for the other teams to pass through, as Blue Lock was about to enter its next challenge. But we know before that can even begin, JINPACHI Ego declares war against the current U20 Japan team, and now must work to assemble the team to face them, as Ego returns to Blue Lock and tells them about the match. And he explains how the main scorers of the World 5 games will be the captain of the teams. First is Yoichi Isagi, then Itoshi Rin, Ryusei Shido, and Seishiro Nagi, and then he continues to go down the list of the remaining players as he tells the rest of them to choose who they wish to play with. Once everyone decided, the matches begin, and let's just say that Isagi doesn't hold back as much here, as he reached a new level by memorizing the skills of the world-class players at first hand. His playstyle evolves, becoming more patient and drawing out his desired situation to score a goal. And speaking of his goals, his shot patterns change as well as the tempo that he plays with, leading to Isagi's team going undefeated in this short arc, as Ego would go off, and he decides to come up with his team, ending up with Isagi as the striker, as Rin wouldn't start due to him being their backup striker, but right under Isagi, Ego decides to put a player who works well with him, Kira, as he hasn't stopped growing, just because we haven't heard much from him. Kira was still as cunning as ever, and I believe his passing would evolve so much so that Ego was almost forced to place him in this spot to support his son, with the lineup being basically constructed to support Isagi. Ego thinks that they're ready, as both teams are now seen days later waiting to walk out on this grand stage. In the hallway, Isagi looks to his side, seeing Itoshi sigh. He wonders how strong he is, but pays him no mind at all. Aiko is the one to speak to him, pretty excited to be able to crush him right here. Isagi doesn't reply, but he thinks about it, saying one word, as he says that everything he says is false. They then walk out with the crowd. Well, they were excited, shouting at both teams, as they hope this to be an exciting match. Isagi wonders how he'll play in front of his father, as the announcers begin to go crazy, with Blue Lock starting with the ball. Isagi sends it back and dashes ahead. Seeing the opportunity, he's able to draw defenders towards him. In the meantime, his team was working the ball up the field. A cross comes to the middle and Aiku jumps to defend it. However, Isagi beats him to the ball, trapping the pass and actually scoring the first goal against the U20 team. They all get a good look at Isagi, seeing that he was already in some type of flow state with his persona vision. Aiku says this may be interesting, and this assumption, well, it was right. Knowing what the U20 team could do, they go on their own offensive assault, with Itoshi Sai leading them forward. Blue Lock's defenders stood no chance, although Kira was able to learn from watching him, as he was an incredible midfielder. Still, Japan's team wouldn't be able to score their first goal without him, as he ties the game, making sure Blue Lock understands their place in the world. The only problem for the U20 players was the construction of Blue Lock's starting lineup, as Ego didn't just choose the players at random. No, this was the best possible lineup in order to ensure Isagi's success at the striker position. And it's shown through their offensive play as the team maneuvers the ball around the pitch, avoiding the strong defenders. Bachira gets it on the wing and works it to the middle where Nagi is able to trap the ball. He then looks towards goal, thinking of shooting, but Aiku defends him, forcing him to pass. As the ball begins to roll towards Kira, Itoshi Sai reveals himself and body blocks him. He tells the young midfielder that his eyes still deceive him, and Kira tries to think of a recovery, but before each of them could even react, the ball was launched into the net by a power shot from Isagi. Reading the game like a children's book, he establishes his dominance to the world as his team celebrates around him, with Japan actually finding this team amusing. This game still does have a couple minutes left before the half, where the U20 striker misses another shot, leading to them being down a goal. In the locker room, Itoshi Sai decides to leave. He's seen the striker that he wishes to support. Isagi's dominance over the first half was incredible, as he already had the skill set necessary to almost win them a World Cup. Even though they did have a wild monster on their side in Shido, he doesn't care to make someone like that number one. Still, the U20 team does decide to sub in Shido as their striker, and Blue Lock also makes some slight changes by moving Yo Hayori and Mikage Ryo onto the field. With this triple threat in the midfield, Isagi could expect the most wonderful passes to score his goals. And the match resumes, and it's a great success for Blue Lock in the second half. With such an amazing supporting cast, Isagi is able to shine regardless of any defensive effort. If not for Shido, Japan would have ran out of luck, as he was the one to keep them in the game with his explosive goals, as he was the one to even man-mark Isagi in the midfield when he could. This caused the two to clash like no other, with Shido being someone who was unpredictable. His goals matched that spirit. He scores 2 goals within this half, but Isagi overcomes it by continuing to play in a flow state with his persona vision, which allows him, well, to play as he wishes, getting around Shido time and time again to score. And sure, we could use the other players to score, but this lineup was made to support Isagi alone, as he shows off his skills to the world. Still, the other midfielders and defenders do get to shine in this match before it was all over, leading to the score of 4-3, with Blue Lock making a true, well, declaration to the world of football. Isagi finally celebrates the win, holding up his fist to the sky while smiling. Not half bad, huh, father? JINPACHI Ego looks down, clenching his own fist, claiming that Blue Lock is a success. Isagi gets a post-game interview where he states to the reporter that he was aiming to be the next number 1 in the world. She calls this a tough goal, as Noel Noah was the current number 1, and Isagi nods, welcoming all challenges that come with this, as he's ready to take on the world of football by force. And this is where I'll end this part of the story, as next is of course the Neo Egoist League, and I'll let you guys decide what team that he should go for, as the next part will be the finale of this series. And if you don't want to miss it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. My name is Zero, and I'll catch you all on the next one.